Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining another episode of Photographer's Favorites. Today I have the awesome Josh Galicki with me. He picked out 5 photos of his favorite, and I picked out another 5, and we'll go through them. How's it going, Josh?
Good, Ray. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, I got a quick glance at the photos. I tried not to look at them too much because I kind of like to give my first impressions, but awesome stuff, which is not a surprise.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
How you been?
Good, good. Trying to shoot, as much as I could. And well, past couple months have been fairly busy, but I was in the Grand Tetons last month, so I
How
did some
was that?
shooting out there. It was good. It was good. A lot of driving. We
Yeah.
decided actually to drive out instead of
Okay.
flying due to the whole
Yeah.
COVID crisis and the like.
Sure.
But it was good. It was a long drive, but it was worth it. And we had some really good
Nice.
opportunities there. So
Is that some
actually,
right there? Those moose?
yeah, matter of fact, we had, the moose rut was going. Most of the stuff we shot actually were moose, believe it or not.
Okay.
And in this particular shot, the one you're looking at, that was during a snowfall we had one morning, and it was
Wow.
fantastic. And first time ever out there, Ray. It is absolutely stunning. The Grand
Was that your
Tetons.
first
And
time?
first time,
Okay.
and it was epic. Just the landscapes itself, in addition,
Yeah.
obviously, to the
Yeah.
animals. And we went up to Yellowstone,
Oh,
so
nice.
it was great. It was about 2 weeks. We did some shooting, and since I came back, trying to go out for ducks and some things that are
Sure.
coming in, some seasonal stuff. But
Makes sense. Makes sense. I got to
yeah,
get myself out west one of these days, man.
oh
I really
yeah,
do.
it is something else. It's just stunning, and it's great for mammals because
Sure.
you and I we shoot birds a lot,
Yeah.
obviously, and
Yeah.
when you get out there, there's just so many different subjects that you're
Yeah.
introduced to, and it's refreshing in a way because I can't drive somewhere on the weekend and shoot moose in the rut
No.
or,
Yeah. Totally.
or grizzly or anything else
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's nice. So it's
Yeah.
shooting different
And
things is always good.
totally a different approach than the bird stuff too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
what's really cool too is if you want to do small in the frame and introduce the subjects into the landscape, it's always easier with mammals too because they're
Yeah.
huge. It's harder
Exactly.
to do
Yeah.
obviously with birds. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
there's a lot more variety there in terms of a small amount of time too, because of course you're only shooting for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Every day you go out, you're limited in terms of the amount of time and what you can
Sure.
capture. So yeah, shooting mammals is just more variety. You could do it quicker than you could for birds, where you need setups and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Other than that moose photo we just looked at, any standout stories from that trip as far as encounters or anything like that?
yeah, we had an elk crossing with a bull elk, and this bull had a harem of about 25. Maybe it was
Nice.
even close to 30.
Wow.
And we actually went down to it was the Snake River one morning, and there was a lady shooting next to us, and it turns out she was Tom Mangelson's assistant. She shot with Tom Mangelson for years,
Oh, no kidding.
and we're like, well, let's stay by her. I think she knows what's going on.
She may know something.
Yeah, exactly. And so we got low and we were waiting and waiting. The elk herd was out in this field, and boy, we got lucky. And it was just after sunrise. This herd
Oh,
crossed right in front of us, just in a single file line, and it was
oh,
epic.
nice.
We had nice backlight, fog on the water. That might have been the most memorable experience that we had. In
Oh,
addition to
sounds
some of the
perfect.
moose rutting, it was great. It was really, really good. I didn't post it on Insta, and it's always tough too because most of the stuff I'll post on my Instagram account, it's the tight, up close stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll share that on Facebook and other areas. But
Nice. Nice.
yeah, that was really, really memorable.
Yeah, it
Yellowstone was
sounds like.
just great just to see it. The
Sure.
landscapes, buffalo or the bison, I should say. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was good. We had some birds in there too. We had great gray owl. We
Awesome.
had some mountain bluebirds and a few things.
Oh,
So we mixed it
beautiful.
up. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
man.
But it was good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Nice.
Yeah,
All right, you ready to get in the show?
yeah. Let's do it.
All right, cool. We'll start with the first photo you picked. Ah, amazing, man. Absolutely love this shot. Caleb is
Yeah,
doing some incredible stuff for a young guy. Actually, had him on the wildlife photo chat not too long ago, and dude, what? Yeah, a lease turn like this, wings up, incredible backlight. The bokeh down here in the foreground is just incredible. Um, I mean, and like, can you get better for a dramatic background? Just a pure black like that, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
it's something
incredible.
else. And what's amazing about this is I think he's 15 or
Something
16.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and when you
yeah.
look at the
Annoyingly
shots
young.
and yeah, exactly, yeah, it makes it, it's I'm like, wow, it just blows my
Yeah,
mind. And one thing I like about his stuff in particular is there's a lot of thought behind all
I
of his
was.
shots, and he
It's the
doesn't
perfect
just
description.
just post every day. And when you think about, when you look at his shots, and there's a lot of work behind it.
Yeah.
Not only is he a good photographer in the field, he's also an excellent processor too. And
Yeah.
he doesn't over process. It's just right. And when you look at this shot, I mean, the specular highlights in the front here,
Yep.
the backlighting in the wings, the
Yeah,
wing
right
position, everything about it. It's just dynamite. And the low key effect, it's dramatic. When I saw this shot, I'm like, oh wow! And I love all of his stuff, but this in particular is just excellent.
Definitely stands out. Yeah, the drama is the perfect word for that. Definitely.
Yeah, and I like the vertical. Obviously, the wing position just begs for a vertical composition.
It really
So
does.
I like how he composed it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Matt, that I'm sure you've seen it happen with this species, but that wing stretch happens pretty quick. Like they don't hold it up there that long,
Typically, whenever that happens to me, I'm in a horizontal, and then of course, I screw it up, or I clip the wings. So he was in a good position for this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and he shoots in Florida. I think he's from Florida, and he shoots down there. But he's been going, and it looks like recently he's been posting some waders and some things, and just different takes, and just excellent work. Very thoughtful photographer.
Definitely, yeah. All right, let's hit the next one, and we'll stay with the low-key theme, not on purpose, but just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, this is great. Mark Boyd. Mark Boyd's an awesome photographer. I've shot with Mark actually a couple times over the years. Yeah, great guy.
I only met him once, once, maybe twice, but yeah, really nice guy.
Yeah, and this is, again, speaking of low-key, well, here we go with the low-key, and love it. I like the way the light's hitting the subject, and I love the texture on the rack here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of depth to it. Of course, you've got the vocalization, lots of drama here. And this is one of these shots too, I think, when it comes to wildlife. A lot of people who like white-tailed deer, they like elk, you can blow up an elk shot or white-tailed deer shot. Not many people would want that on their living room wall, or put it in the dining room of just a plain shot. This shot has drama, and this is a shot that you can print out and put on the wall anywhere, because it's got an artistic element. Yes, that's exactly right. And I suspect he shot this. I know Mark goes out to Benezet, Pennsylvania. I go out to Benezet. May have been in this area. There's that elk herd, and of course they're, I don't know, just shy of 1,000. But he probably shot this in and around Elk County. And, that's difficult to get great composition of elk, in my opinion, because they come out in, soybean fields. There's a lot of farms there. And to come up with compositions that look natural, that look different, can be a challenge. In my opinion, the first time I ever shot elk, I was just talking about Grand Teton. You've got these large vistas and landscapes, and it's just
point anywhere, it's great, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, okay, they're meant to be there. In Pennsylvania, obviously they were there years ago, and they were pushed out and they're reintroduced, but that landscape is much more, it's man-made in a way. It's cultivated. So coming up with compositions and being creative, it takes a lot of work out there. And this is just a testament to what Mark can do. I've seen a lot of his elk stuff out there. It's dynamite. I mean, he's excellent.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that, man. Yeah, you described it perfectly. Agreed with everything. Yeah, and this was one of those where, in the Northeast here, right, we follow a lot of kind of local photographers that we either know personally or, have just followed online. And when the elk rut season hits up here in that Pennsylvania area, that's all it is on Instagram, right? You just see elk. And so to see anything that stands out is also a challenge. And so, I just remember scrolling through and just being like, oh, okay, wow. And I just instantly, kind of bookmarked this photo, because it was like, yeah, here's somebody that, just like we were saying about Caleb, put some thought into the shot and came away with something really unique and artistic. So
yeah, absolutely. One thing I'll say about Mark too, not only is he a great wildlife photographer, I'll put a plug in, he's great at landscapes too, waterfalls, and he's a very versatile photographer. Great guy too.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. Oh, we're gonna jump the other way now and go high key. This is perfect.
Yeah, right. This is right. One into the other. Right?
Yeah. This is amazing. I mean, come on, the motion in this is just unbelievable. First off, when I first saw this photo, this was the first time I had ever seen a photo of the species. I never saw this species, so I was introduced to it when this won the contest. What was it? It was Bird Photographer of the Year. He was placed
this
in.
Is a bird photographer.
Yeah. So yeah, just even with it being the complete opposite of the low key dark black background, this to me still has drama, you know. It's so dynamic with the movement and the curves, just like you can almost feel the wind, or
Yeah.
just the shaking of that tail there. And then to have the bird perched on this one single stalk out in the open like that is just incredible. So, yeah, kudos to
Yeah.
that photographer.
Yeah, I agree. And, I love widow birds. First time I came across them in Africa.
Okay.
And, when people think of Africa, people obviously think of mammals, but the
Yeah.
birds are incredible in Africa, widow birds especially. And when I first saw this shot, and I was talking to, I reached out to Richard Flack, who
Mm-hmm.
took this shot before, and he mentioned to me one of the things that he likes about this shot, and I totally agree with him, is when you first look at it, your brain says, "What is that?" There's a little
Yeah.
bit of suspense there, and then you kind of look at it closely, and then it kind of all comes together. And I had that same feeling when I looked at that shot. You look at it, and you're like, "Wow!" But it takes a few seconds for your brain to
Yeah.
process in terms of what you're looking at,
Totally.
and you really appreciate it. I love the high key. And what's kind of cool too, when you have dark birds, especially on cloudy days, obviously, your
Yeah.
shutter slower, just the normal exposure, even if you don't intend high key, you kind of get to that place
Sure.
anyhow.
Yeah.
And it just works great. I mean, the contrast between the black and the white, like you were saying, right? Just the wind, the
The
movement,
splash
it's
of
just,
red on the throat.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
it's incredible. When I first saw this shot actually in Bird Photographer of the Year, and I was just
Same here.
taken back. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it's got that wow factor to it.
Yeah, it really does. Yep. Yep. Yeah. You look through those contests like that, and just every photo just makes you feel like, oh, I got to work harder. I got to get more creative.
Yeah, it makes us better photographers.
It really
That's
does.
kind of, yeah, yeah.
It really
And
does. Yeah.
the delicacy of this bird too. If you look,
Yeah.
its perch, that little stalk coming off of the main
Right
stalk, there, a
there.
piece
Yeah.
of grass. Yeah, and it just shows how like light these birds are.
Yeah.
They weigh nothing.
And
But
I love the little, like, I guess it looks like a fallen feather just on its way down right there. That's kind of detached, just like
yeah,
one little subtle detail. That's just like an interesting moment in time there.
yeah, yeah. Just an incredible shot. Probably my favorite widow bird shot that I've ever seen. It's just dynamite.
Well, it definitely was for me. I've never seen them before, but had I know this would probably be up there anyway. So.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I think the African birds just don't get obviously a lot of attention because most people go there for mammals.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But there's so many great birds.
Yeah, definitely. I think I went a little off sequence and picked another one of yours, but that's fine. We'll get to it. So,
Okay.
yeah, so graphically cool that to have the branch so low that it actually in the reflection frames the bird in there, and then the thought of the photographer to have it right in this kind of notch that's on both sides, right? So it's just like this perfect shape around it like that. Looks like a coot of some sort, maybe, I would guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Like
Yeah.
probably, and it's a European species. Matteo Pagnani, he's
Yeah.
Italian, so I would imagine it's some sort of Eurasian coot or European
Yeah.
coot. Or
Yep.
But
Yeah. So just having a black and white bird in a black and white scene, this is a shot that I can't even tell if he converted it black and white or if there was just no tone in this naturally. You know what I mean? Which
good point.
is perfect to convert to black and white if it if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the contrast, like, just right on, because it's interesting. I can still see just the indication, even this small, of like the little kind of, I don't know, lack of a better term, like the little helmet kind of thing that that species has. I don't know what you would call them. Oops.
Kind of makes you wonder how they evolved that way too, because like more hens and gallant or coots, and they
Yeah,
have
all
that. It's
them.
like, what's that for? Yeah, I don't.
I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever.
And it does. I mean, obviously, I've never touched them, but it does seem like it's like a hard kind of growth up there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No feathers on it. Yeah.
Yeah, like what's that? What's the purpose? But
Who knows?
I'm sure somebody knows. Maybe.
Yeah. 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 I assume somebody does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just first impression of this is just what a graphical image.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Matteo is one of my favorite bird photographers when it comes to black and white, and
Yes.
not many bird photographers actually shoot or obviously convert to black and white because it's hard. Obviously when people think of birds, they think of color, but this is just great. And the composition, I think it's pretty daring to have the bird in the middle. I like
Yep.
that. It works very well. You've got the anchor on the side. I mean, everything about this shot just sticks out to me. And I agree that you really hit the nail on the head, Ray. It's graphic, and
Yeah.
it's fine art. This is something that you could go into, a Pottery Barn or a Crate and Barrel and see this on the
Yep.
wall. It has cross appeal not only for people who love nature, but for people who just like, I think it's fine art. It's fine art photography. And I really like that because you have to have an artistic eye, I think, to create these shots. Does a lot of urban scenes too, with like
I was just gonna say,
starlings,
yeah.
chain link fences and
Yep.
stuff, and it just looks
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, for anyone that's not following him, definitely give him a follow because yeah, you'll just see one mind blowing image after another. So yeah,
And I'm kind of, it makes me think too, because I live in downtown DC, and all the time, whenever I go to shoot, I'm getting out of the city to shoot.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wait a second,
Yeah.
there's a lot to be shot in here when I see stuff. Well, not this shot per se, but like what
Sure.
he does with starlings and
Yes.
some urban scapes. Chris Cowla does a lot of that too.
Yep.
And it makes me think, well, I should be shooting more in the city. I'll have to do that because
I have
these guys
thought
inspire me.
I have thought that would be such a cool project to do, to kind of present as, just a cohesive set of images of everything shot in there. Cause yeah, jumping what we said in the beginning of this, just graphical nature of what an urban environment can provide with some interesting dramatic light, like bouncing off of buildings or just being blocked with shade and stuff like that. I could see it being a really creative outlet, but yeah, generally speaking, I've never spent the time to like go into city, and I'm like 20 minutes from Philly, so.
Yeah, that's right. You're close to Philly. Yeah, I'm stepping on the gas like getting out of town to shoot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of it.
exactly. Yeah.
My problem too is I like to shoot on my own. I'm like a solo shooter.
Yeah.
It's just, you're shooting and then somebody comes up, what's that lens for?
Yep.
What are you doing? And I just, it shouldn't bother me, but over the years, I just,
You would definitely have to go with like a little smaller setup. I don't think I could like walk into a park or down the middle of Philly with a 500 millimeter f4 and just have nobody bother me. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
I've had the Secret Service come after me a couple times downtown when I shoot.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, the camo, the lens coat doesn't
Yes.
help.
Yes.
It's like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to be photographing birds, and they look at me like I'm nuts. And
Yeah.
like, okay, and they walk away. But
yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Here, I got one for you.
Oh man, yeah, this is just dynamite. This is
right.
Marco Ghiatti. He's like one of the best.
Yeah.
And Ghiatti goes, if I'm saying that, I should know this. I'm Italian. I should know to pronounce that. It's Ghiatti. But if he's listening to this, I apologize if it's wrong. But yeah, he travels all over the world, and his stuff is just, it's always top notch. He has shots of baboons in Ethiopia, wide angle, that are just to take your breath away.
Oh, nice.
This shot I love. Where did he? Looks like he took it in Katmai, probably near
Which
Brooks Falls.
To come up with that there, like how many shots come out of that area? That specific spot.
Yeah, and obviously he had the slow enough shutter to blur the water. I'm guessing it's one, or it could have been a composite, maybe, I don't know. But if it's one shot, even better. But it's, you look at it and it just it makes you imagine what else is going on.
Right.
When I look at this, I think, oh wow, and it puts you close in the scene, but it lets you what's going on around and what the bear's doing, obviously. But it leaves a sense of imagination there, which I think is really cool. The leaves too, with a little bit of color, add a
little
nice
splash of color under the water like that. Yeah, just incredible. Yeah, this was one of those shots too. It's a frozen moment with the bear's paws and claws, and then motion from the water. So like combining those two elements, but having them work together like that just kind of amazed me. Kind of similar in vein of what we as bird photographers would do with like a panning blur or something, to get like the subject sharp, but yet have motion. And this managed to do it with not the subject moving, but having the water moving around it. Just, to me, it's like incredible insight into that photographer's mind to be able to slow down, look at that scene and think and achieve and capture a shot like that when there's salmon jumping, there's fishing going on from these bears. So like the go-to shots are so in your face and easy to just get sidetracked with. And those are amazing shots too. Right. So to see like this little kind of serene scene is impressive to me.
And the size of the claws too, it just gives you a good feeling for what kind of predators they are. I shot coastal brown bears not far from Katmai. I was in Lake Clark National Park, which is just a little ways north, but coastal brown bears, it was a salmon run. I was there in August, and to see them fish. And we had one run right by our group. It was chasing another bear, and ran only probably a few feet from me. Well, I mean, when that happens, you you check yourself there for a second, but just seeing the power on these animals, it's just, I love bears. I want to go back at some point to shoot them. When we were in Tetons, it's a different story because the grizz are moving around. And if you see them, they're way far out. We were looking for 399 and the opportunities. And when they are there, you mostly get them walking or moving around.
Yeah.
When you go to Alaska and you go to these spots where they're fishing, I mean, you get the interactions, the behaviors, and
just spend hours with them.
It's as good as, it's as good as being in Africa, in my opinion. It's amazing to see these bears. Oh,
it blew me away too, how easy they move through, a decent height, fast moving river, like me and Jamin were in waders and we're stumbling through and can barely move. And these things are just like cruising right through it and running, and it's like, man, the power is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. When you were with Jamin in Alaska, you had brown bear up there.
And
black bear too, I think, right? Yeah.
What's that?
You had black bear too, or was it just
one
brown
black bear we saw? Yeah.
Okay.
Not at the same time, a different spot, but the brown bear, we had two, just like subadult cubs that were pretty much full size, but just hanging out in front of us for a couple of hours and and then playing around and like beating on each other and stuff. And you're just like, this is incredible. So.
And the young ones are so cute too. It's just adorable when you see the cubs. They're amazing animals. Amazing. Yeah. It's good news about Pebble Mine too. I've been following that with a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
So that was great.
Yeah, it definitely is. Speaking of cute, there we go.
All right.
Yeah. Just incredible family portrait.
Yeah, and when I look at the one thing that just kind of sticks out, beyond the cuteness, the size of I'm assuming that's the mother, but look at her face. The size of her head compared to the young ones, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
I like the diagonal too, looking at the smaller one here just going up, and then it kind of cuts back over to the mother. So the lines I think are really strong in this. Light is good. Just the behavior too. I like that the third cub over, or the first one on the left standing up, they've all got an inquisitive look. It's totally a really cool shot.
Something got their attention.
Yeah, for sure. They don't look too pissed. But
no, it's more of a curious thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But to have them lined up like that, but all looking in the same direction, pretty good timing there.
Yeah. And this is just one of those shots too. It kind of warms your heart. You see that. Yeah. And a lot of folks, there's different opinions on this. When photos do well, I think, when they show emotion that's similar to humans. People like that. There's a lot of photographers, I think, who do very well with that. Tin Man Lee is one that comes to mind, obviously. This shot has that. And I could see why people just get moved by it. Because right when I looked at it too, I'm like, you could see the mother's love, the kids here and everything else. But it's a great shot.
Yep. Yeah. And then just simple, clean colors, warm tones, blue water, that sets it off. So there's like the amazing complementary colors there that give such a good visual color contrast in the image. That's another thing that kind of really stood out to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a feel good image. And
yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Oh man. Alicia has been killing it with the pastel stuff and then adding in the tiniest bit of urban element to the photo that just adds to it, such a great use of tying that in, because so many times I think, especially for me, it's happened plenty of times where you have this urban stuff in the background, you're like, it's ruining my shot. It's ruining the shot. Well, here it just elevates the shot, so she's managed to take it and incorporate it in such a good way. The vertical composition, use of negative space down here, I think is excellent there. And then just the position of the birds and those dusk kind of pastel tones in the sky are just absolutely incredible and indicative of a lot of her shorebird photography. She just really excels with using those colors, shooting before and after sunrise and sunset, which is, it's funny. I'm seeing a lot more photographers starting to embrace that now, I would say, like within the last year or two, whereas I feel like before that, so many people would never even go near it. And I attribute that to probably two things. One being, more people sharing this kind of photography and more people realizing it's possible. And then secondarily is the gear, right? The gear is just now allowing a lot of people to be able to kind of push into those hours where, in the past, if you didn't have, the top of the line camera, it couldn't really handle that, or some of the best glass, and now it can, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Right. As a matter of fact, I just discovered Alicia, and maybe from a post that you had or a story, and I started to follow her. I'm like, oh, she's excellent, And so maybe within the past few weeks, I actually discovered her work, and this shot, of course, stuck out to me. And it just goes to show, when the sun sets, don't go home. It's not, don't pack up and run for the car, because obviously
even close.
Right? Yeah, she definitely stuck it out. And again, the pastels and the bouquet there in the back and I don't know if that's a pier or some sort of artificial light, but it just really brings the image together, the vertical composition. I just love it. It's excellent. And to your point too, like even blue hour shots, they're becoming more and more prolific, and I see more and more of them too, especially with owls. A lot of blue hour with owls, people are doing that. And the gear obviously has a lot to do with it. And, folks are starting to, I think more and more folks are starting to realize that, even before sunrise and after sunrise, there's just so many opportunities and different ways to compose. And it's not just always about the golden hour, obviously. But this is just a really great shot. I mean, I just love it. It made me smile when I saw it. I'm like, this is excellent.
And then taking a subject that, many bird photographers would probably say not the most exciting, right? A willet. I mean, they do have some intricate, beautiful plumage when you get them close, but they're generally common. And certainly for myself, I can speak. It's not a subject that I'm like, gung ho for. I don't think I've ever targeted a willet. I'll take photos when presented, a good opportunity, but never targeted willet. And so anyway, she takes a subject that's kind of, a little bit more common, less flashy, and makes it just look amazing. So that's a nice move.
And it's hard to get close to them sometimes too. They're very loud. They can be annoying, kind of like killdeer, and then they get out, So, kudos to her too for sticking it out and having them, close enough to compose like this, because they're pretty skittish. Yeah,
they definitely can be.
And I shoot a lot of them too, like in the summer, because they're one of the few shorebirds that breed on the East Coast.
Totally.
Like, I get, they would be up in New Jersey. The Eastern willet I know breeds there. So, and then it's weird because in the winter, the Western willet comes.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
The subspecies, the East, there's a difference in size too, actually. Okay. And I think the species that breeds in the summer, they move out, and then the Western comes in for the winter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. I'll have to check.
Yeah. You would know better than me.
I could be wrong, but I think so, yeah.
You would know better than me. All right, on to the next one. Back to mammals.
Yeah, the expression says it all. I think this first time I'm looking at this, and I just look right at the expression, I love fox, red fox especially. They're obviously known for being coy in many ways and very charismatic. That's captured here in this shot. The early morning light is great, or maybe late evening, depending upon. Sure. But the expression, you could tell it's stalking and it's going somewhere. Just a great shot. It's the expression for me when I look at this. I'm just, I'm taken right to it. Really, really nice.
Yeah, and it's funny, you don't obviously, it's like you said, you can tell by the behavior, just look at it, stalking something, but then her caption kind of brings it home and makes it even more funny. It's that it's stalking a sibling.
I didn't even see that. Yeah,
which kind of, now you can like really tell, like the next moment after this is it's probably just like, landing on its back or something like that, and just starting to play around. But yeah, the expression and the light on this one is what really grabbed me, and the fact that like your eye goes nowhere else when you look at this photo. It's right to that fox's face, right into the expression. The light coming in hard from the right here, but it's such soft light that the shadows still have detail, but yet everything's dark. Like, this is the bright point. This is the focal point of the image. No questions asked. That's where you go. Yeah, and it kind of is just like we're stalking, like you're so zeroed in on that face, just like it's stalking whatever it's going after,
It's not a very intimidating stalk. I think that's what makes it cute,
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Yeah, they're just so adorable. The young ones especially,
Have you ever spent time with kits?
No,
Me
and
neither.
I want to. And you know what I
Me
think part
neither.
of it is, and you've spoken to this too, Ray, and I think we're both on the same wavelength, is this when something is shot, in different ways
Yes.
and you see a lot, I kind of avoid it or else
Yep.
I'll stray away from it, which
Yep.
really, owls, I'm similar to you with that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the right thing, but for,
No, yeah, it's totally not. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just something that yeah, I end up never putting the effort into because yeah, it just I don't know. There's a little bit of appeal is lost to me personally with that kind of stuff. Yet, if I was given an opportunity, I would totally be all over it.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Like when
Yeah.
you hear about the dens and all the people, whoever, wildlife photography community is so small. When
Yeah.
you hear about a den, everybody kind of rushes to the
Sure.
den or there's,
Yep.
so I always think to myself, am I going to get something unique? Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I guess right there, a certain side of me is like, well, that's a challenge, right? To go into where everybody's shooting the same stuff and then try and come up with something unique. But as what you were saying earlier, if it's going to be a group of people, or it's just so it's such a well-known spot, a part of me is just like, I want to find my own thing,
Yeah, yeah. Like a good example, there was a boreal owl last winter people were shooting, and I thought I kept seeing the same shot from the same, but it was just all different, because everybody's shooting it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
intimidating too, because like when we came across great gray owls in Yellowstone,
yeah.
before I was ready to pull the shot, I'm like, oh boy, I'm not paving new ground with this shot. When
Sure.
you think
Yep.
about it, it's
Yep.
amazing to see, and you want to shoot it, but some of these like birds or animals, they're shot so much it's
Yeah.
almost intimidating in a way because you're thinking, how can I come up with something new? It's much bigger challenge, versus
Definitely.
shooting,
Yep.
I don't know, a king rail or something that isn't shot that much.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
paving ground just shooting it, let alone,
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Totally.
know, but,
Totally. Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, this shot, not to take away from this shot I think is unique. And the expression that's captured in the light
Yep.
and the way it hits, I think it is a unique shot.
Yep.
And that says a lot for this because, foxes are shot all the time. So, well,
Exactly.
photographed all the time. Shot
Yep.
too, unfortunately. They're
Sure. Yeah.
photographed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Like talk about unique, right? There, like this is not. Yeah. He doesn't have to do a lot to
yeah.
make this shot unique, but it's still an amazing shot to begin with. Another kind of sense of stillness, like frozen motion and capture. Matt captured this just absolutely incredible. You can see the motion of like the air bubbles in the river moving there, and then these fish are fighting that current, trying to go upstream like that, and just that. I mean, does it get more in your face than that?
Yeah. It's
Like just
oh my God.
incredibly well lit.
And what makes me appreciate the shot, I was talking about Alaska before a couple of years when we were shooting the brown bears. I had a GoPro, and the salmon were coming up. I'm like, oh
Yep.
well, I'm gonna stick a GoPro and
Yeah.
in the stream, and I'll
Sure.
just thinking. What I came up with was, and then looking
Yeah.
at this, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
boy,
right?
makes me really appreciate what it's like to actually get a great shot of this.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, it's just totally stuck out. I talked to Matt a little bit about this, and he was telling me that there was a dead log not far from where he shot it. He actually had to use that and put his legs underneath to keep him underwater with the current.
Yes.
So, and as he was shooting, he said these salmon, they were coming in and they were actually, just nibbling on him even. They were so close.
I remember
And
him saying
it's amazing. Yeah. His underwater stuff, his amphibian stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I appreciate his work so much because I don't shoot any of this stuff. I mostly
Correct.
birds and mammals. Right. And,
Yep.
when I see, it's like, he's an excellent photog. All the stuff he does, it's so well thought out, the way he uses light and flash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk about the challenges. Like, we're standing above the river trying to shoot the
Yeah.
bears or whatever. He's like, no, I'm going in, shooting with a 13 millimeter lens. So ridiculously wide angle, dealing with flash underwater, the current, the cold, like just all these things. It just make me feel like an absolute baby with the photography I do.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to go lay down and shoot a duck over here. Well, I know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of work that goes into these shots. And I think too, probably the keeper rate's probably tough. I mean, you're taking a lot, but
gotta be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just wow. This is a wow shot. Love that
really
stuff.
is,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and I talk to Matt all the time too. We're always chatting back and forth, and just the passion that he has to come up with something unique. Going back to what we were just talking about a little bit ago, in his genre of photography with more of the reptiles and that sort of stuff, he's so adamant that he's like, I got to shoot something unique. He's like, I'm not going to go shoot the same common thing anymore. And probably to his detriment, where he'll complain like, I haven't shot anything in 2 weeks. It's like, well, you could, but he's really just always pushing himself, and that's to me very commendable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just incredible. Yeah.
All right, last photo.
Oh wow, very cool. Yeah, I love penguins. I shot them once actually in the Falklands a couple of years ago, and that was like one of the most memorable things I've ever done as a wildlife photographer. And because they're so charismatic, and
I'm sure
it's just this shot. You look at him. Actually, I know is Ollie. I think it's Ollie.
Okay.
He's incredible. He's one of the best Arctic shooters I think in the world. This shot obviously just goes to, just shows how good he is.
I know.
It's kind of interesting too. If I took this shot, which I wish I would have, but if I took this shot, I wouldn't have thought initially to turn it to convert it to black and white or monochrome, but I think it works really well. I'm going to guess it's half in and half out. He's got like a housing or something on here, and he's under, and you can see the textures of the rocks below the water. And of course, you've got the diagonal there, the line coming in.
The lines are incredible.
Is that a Gen 2 or?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Gen 2. Yeah. So the lines are great. And you've got what's also cool too. You've got, I would imagine it's some sort of surf or foam from the water in the upper left corner, but it bleeds into the clouds too, which I think is really cool.
Well, and this right here is like a mountain range back there.
Yeah.
There's it's incredible scenery. It's just, so many layers.
It's like this twist, and you're looking into it. There's just so much that, that goes into this shot. This is a shot too, where I think you look at and you study it for a while, because there's a lot going on, and I always appreciate that. There's beauty and simplicity, but there's also, I think, beauty and complexity, and that's kind of where this lands for me. It's incredible. I mean, his stuff is just through the roof. So yeah.
Well, and then on top of that, for me, it's like there's still an instant, no question subject to this. There's still a great focal point, right? The dark bird against the brightest area back there, like your eye just goes to that. That's where everything is the sharpest. So, instantly that's where my eye goes, but then your eye starts wandering. You pick up like all the stuff you mentioned, the texture here, the lines, the diagonals. And then all of a sudden you go back here and you notice, wow, there's like incredible landscape back there. And then the clouds over top. So there's just all these things start to just kind of appear to you after you've spent time with the photo, like you said. But it's not busy to begin with.
Yeah, agreed. I was sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say it was pretty bold with the composition also. You could see the horizon in the back, how he tilts it. Now, he's got a wide angle, I suspect, and that added to the curvature. But, when I'm sure he maybe cropped it a little bit and moved things around, but you could see the curve kind of obviously going down, which kind of augments where the penguin is going. And, I thought he was very bold with that too. Not the traditional, it's kind of straighten the horizon as much as possible. So yeah, just really just
excellent,
very artistic. Yeah
it really is, man. And again, like the challenge of getting that shot, just unbelievable. Like the odds are so stacked against the photographer at that point to make all these elements work out, composition, lines, focus, the light, and the water, being the wave being right at the right angle to kind of have that line leading in there. It's just so many elements that came together. Just incredible.
Yeah. And these are the shots that really, stick out, and that's always a challenge I have when I go out. If you want to put together a shot like this, it takes a lot of time, a lot of thought, and a commitment, and you don't have time to get the more general shots. It's
Correct.
Like, oh, there's the golden light, and boom, boom, the penguin's walking by. So, in order to get these shots, you have to sacrifice time that you would have to use on other stuff. So that's always a challenge. It's hard. It's that balance, and photographers who take the time to think things out, to come up with something unique, that's the stuff that stands out. And it's stuff like this. I mean, it's top.
It really is, man. It really is.
Yeah.
Great set, man. We did it. Nice. That was fun. Yeah. We got some great images there. I know before we wrap up, you wanted to mention this new contest you're a part of. What's it all about, Josh?
Yeah, so it's called Wild Art Photographer of the Year. I'm actually a judge in the contest, and it
Nice.
was founded by a gentleman by the name of Rob Reed. He's based out of the UK. He was one of the founding members and ran Bird Photographer of the Year for the past 5 years, which is a
Oh,
very,
okay.
very successful contest, and it's global. Um, Wild Art, this is going to be the first year. Rob is the driving force behind this, and it's unique relative to other contests that are out there in the sense that there's going to be individual monthly contests with different themes.
Oh, nice.
We're going to have contests starting in January, and it's going to run to October, and so 10 individual contests, and each contest is going to have its own theme. The first contest is going to be run by the judge, I should say, for January is Gail Bisson out in Nova Scotia. She's a great photographer. That theme is wet. So anything with wildlife as it relates to water, or water
Awesome.
being part of the scene, H2O. I'm actually in March. Mine's going to be eyes. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think when you think of eyes, again, we were talking before, I shoot a lot of birds and mammals, but that lends itself to insects, macro, amphibians. So
Yep.
I think there'll be hopefully a lot of diversity that comes in. But back to the contest, it's a contest put together by photographers for photographers. And we're really looking to emphasize an artistic approach to wildlife photography, more so than just the literal sense of just, taking, portraits and all that.
Sure.
So which is obviously still cool, but this is more on the artistic side.
Gotcha.
And there's so many folks out there right now that are pushing the envelope when it comes to bird photography. Whether it's using different forms of light, or whether it's different types of focal lengths used, and all that stuff. We're talking about gear and everything else. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's so much creativity. I mean, we see it every day on Instagram. So we're hoping to not only capture that in the contest, but also reward that. The prizes are great. There's great cash prizes in here.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. There's going to be a book at the end of the year, similar to what's done in other contests, like Wild Photographer of the Year, Bird Photographer of the Year. It'll be a limited edition book. There's going to be a youth prize as well. The youth prize, the winner of the youth category, they're going to win binoculars by Swarovski.
For all these kids that are better than me. Nice.
Yeah, me too. I tell you, it's about, and one of the things I've been trying to get the word out, and I appreciate you letting me showcase this here on your show, Ray, is for folks in the States. I know a lot of people in the States watch your show. The contest is, Rob Reed is based out of the UK. There's going to be a lot of folks from Europe, we suspect, on this, similar to Bird Photographer of the Year and Wildlife Photographer of the Year. And we always try to get the word out in the States as well. So we're hoping a lot of folks stateside will have a look at this. And so, so anybody, and I would just encourage everybody to have a look at the website. It's www.wildartpotty, Wild Art Party, we say, but it's Wild Art Photographer of the Year, POTY.com.
Perfect.
Bookmark it, have a look, and
I'll make sure to include a link to this. So
Thank you.
That'd be great, man.
One other thing I'll just mention on my Instagram, my most recent post, I'm running a promotion with Cotton Carrier. We're giving away a free harness. I use Cotton Carrier. I actually used it in the field when I took this shot. So if anybody's interested, like that photo, or write a name down in there, and you'll be put into the raffle for what it's worth. So
nice and easy. All right, man.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks so much for joining me, man. That was awesome. You shared some amazing photos, so really appreciate that. And to everybody watching, make sure you follow those photographers if you like what you saw. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks, Josh.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Ray. Appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Okay.
All right.